Thanks for joining me for this short presentation but in-depth demonstration. If you are interested in seeing what else can be done with an AI dialogue between Claude Desktop and a browser automation MCP server, this demo is for you. I am seriously impressed with how this Playwright MCP server works. Using MCP and Claude Desktop along with Playwright MCP Server streamlines test plan creation after it analyzes a web application. MCP enables efficient management and execution of tests. Claude Desktop offers the AI-driven insights to enhance test coverage, while Playwright MCP Server automates test scenarios across different browsers, ensuring robust and comprehensive testing. But what about the planning phase of a test project? Can the tools work together to put a test plan together? A test project is only as good as the planning that goes into it. After this slide, you will meet me in my lab to get some answers. I will conduct a demonstration using Claude to interface with two MCP servers. I saved 4 test strategy conversations for this purpose. The key objectives were to analyze a web application, report findings, and generate a detailed test plan. I had positive experiences which included efficient data integration and insightful test case generation. However, challenges were encountered with server connectivity issues and unexpected dialogue disruptions. The first 3 Claude test strategy conversations I had with Claude were done using Microsoft's version of Playwright MCP Server. It is not my desire to put it down. I will just conclude that it did not meet my current needs as I thought it might. So the challenges came with that server. I will show you in a moment. The last Claude test strategy conversation will be with Automata Labs version of Playwright MCP Server. I did not expect it to be better in my opinion. In a previous video, I showed its strength for testing. Now I will show its strength for test strategizing. You will see what I mean now. Join me in my lab. Welcome to my lab. We're now seeing the Claude Desktop GUI display before you. If you are new to Claude, I want to make sure you understand that Claude is just like ChatGPT or Copilot or Gemini, some of these other AI agents, and it's being used now as a client or MCP client. When you hear that term, Claude is one of those that fits into that space. Now, also, if you're new, you may appreciate this little button here. They call it a Search and Tools button. When I click on that, you get several options: user style, web search, and Playwright. The web search, you can actually turn it on or off, and that allows you to actually ask Claude questions just like you would Copilot or ChatGPT. And as I said, you can decide whether it has access to the internet or not, just by this button here. And Playwright. If I click over here, you will see the tools, and sometimes we mention tools in relation to MCP, and what that means are functions that are available in the MCP server that the client, like Claude, can dialogue with the server using these functions or tools. So you can disable all of them, or you can disable any one of them or some of them. So just be aware of that. You have that kind of control in Claude. And if you had multiple of the same type of server, like 2 Selenium servers or 2 Playwright servers, you could control that inside here. All right, enough said on that. I'll just close that back. I have 4 Claude conversations that I want to share with you in this demonstration, and 3 of them, the first 3, have to do with the Playwright version that came from Microsoft, and then the last will be about the Automata Lab version, and that's the one that I like of these 2. It meets the requirements of what I was looking for, and that is test strategy. So let's move on to that. I will open up the chat box over here, or the list of chats that were saved, and let's start with the strategy 1. So it's called Sauce Demo Test Strategy 1, and the Sauce Demo Test Strategy is about trying to get information concerning a particular website. And the website is called either Sauce Demo or Sauce Labs. You'll hear both of those terms referring to a little catalog system application. Anyway, here's where I start. Let me go to the top. And here is a prompt that I submitted in this conversation, expecting everything would be done. I wouldn't have to interface with the tools until it was done providing me with the answer to my questions. I asked, can you fetch and analyze the web pages of saucedemo.com to understand the application structure and identify potential test scenarios? Can you also provide guidance on test case design and test plans? That's a mouthful. It's quite a bit to ask for, but I was hoping that this one would do it. This was the vendor's product. And it says, I'll help you analyze the Sauce Demo application and provide guidance on test case design and test planning. Let me start by fetching and examining the main page. Okay, I think that's where I began to give it problems, that fetch word. So it said, failed to fetch. Okay, all right, fine. So then it says, let me search information about Sauce Demo first to get the proper URL and understand the application. So unlike the other tool, it was able to come up with this URL, and that is the correct URL, but yet it says I couldn't get to that, navigate to that particular website. So it goes into searching on the web, on the internet, and it comes up with 10 results. Let me expand that and show you. So it did find Swag Labs or Swag Labs and Sauce Labs and Sauce Demo and so on. And let's see what happened. It comes back with, now I can see that Sauce Demo is available at saucedemo.com. Great, great. Let me fetch the main page. So it did fetch it, but it recognized it as Swag Labs rather than Sauce Demo. Okay? All right. So we'll let it go ahead with that particular issue. Let me try to navigate to the application. So it says, perfect, now I can see the source demo login page. And it goes on, it actually gives me a screenshot. We can take a quick look at the screenshot. So that's definitely Swag Labs. Good so far. And it starts to, now let me log in with the standard user and explore the application. All right, fine, perfect. I can see the main inventory page. It gives me a screenshot of that. That's great. Now let me add an item to the cart, and tries to do that. Great, I can see the cart now. And then it comes back with, Claude hit the maximum length for this conversation. Please start a new conversation to continue chatting with Claude. Well, that's a problem. It won't, once I start a new conversation, it won't know what it did in the beginning. So we'd have to start that all over again. And we'd be back at this maximum length for this conversation. That wasn't good. So let's try the second one. I tried again. I said, maybe if I refine the prompt, maybe I'll get more out of it. And you probably already saw that it's going to do something similar. So I said, well, can you fetch and analyze the web pages of sourcedemo.com to understand the application structure and identify potential test cases? Now, my hope was that, hey, it wouldn't fail again on this. It should have already known what we're talking about. Well, it's failed. It said, let me search for information about SAR. Okay, it goes through that again. And it's, all right, I can fetch it. The pages requires JavaScript to run, so I'll need to use the browser tools to properly analyze the app. Okay, let me navigate, and it, okay, perfect, did that. Gives me a screenshot. All right, it got to the login page. Now let me log in with standard user. Okay, all right, excellent. Now I'm on the main inventory page. Great, we're getting somewhere. Or at least I thought. And let me add an item. Okay, it clicks on the shopping cart. Claude hit the maximum length for this conversation. Please start a new conversation to continue chatting. Okay, that's getting a little frustrating. Well, let's try it again. Let's give it at least 3 opportunities to give me what I'm looking for. All right, I'll scroll up to the top and let's see what happens this time. I said, all right, forget that fetch thing. Can you log in to this site to understand the application structure and identify potential test cases? Never mind the rest of it. I'll help you explore the source demo application to understand its structure and identify potential test cases. All right, browser navigate. I can see this is the source demo login page. Great. We didn't have all that failure fetching and stuff. All right, it moves on. It says, great, I can see the application has successfully logged in and I'm now on the inventory products page. Fantastic. I noticed there are already 2 items in the cart. Well, that was because it quit twice on me. All right, good. I'm glad you saw that. Perfect. I can see the navigation menu is now open with options for all items, about, log out, and so on. Let me close this menu. Okay, great. It does that. Now, let me click on the cart icon. Excellent. I can see the cart page with 2 items, Sauce Labs, and backlight. Okay, great. This is the first step of checkout where customer information is collected. I'm getting a little bit more information. Let me fill in the form. Okay, great. Perfect. This is the checkout overview page. Of course, it's not showing me those pages, but it's getting there. Let me complete the checkout process. Browser click. Excellent. I've successfully completed the entire checkout process and reach the order confirmation page. Let me click back home and then explore a product detail page. All right, it's going to end. Claude hit the maximum length for this conversation. Please start a new conversation. Well, enough is enough. I gave up on that and said, all right, let's go to the other MCP Playwright server that's from Automata Labs. Nice name. Okay, let's go to the top of that and let's see how I start my prompt. I didn't want to deal with fetch again, so I got kind of a little nervous about that. I said, can you analyze the web pages at this site to understand the application structure and identify potential test scripts? And can you also provide a guidance on test case design and test plans? And it comes back with, I'll analyze the source demo website to understand its application structure, help you with the test case design. Let me start by navigating. Okay, does the navigate, gives me a screenshot. I do like that, lets me know where it is. All right, sorry, move that back. Perfect, I can see the source demo login page. And it says, let me log in with the standard users. All right, great, does that, gives me a screenshot. So it's logged in and we're at the detail page. I'm not the detail page, the product page. All right, good. It needs to navigate through the application in order to get a feel for what's there and what needs to be tested. So it does that. It goes on, gives me another screenshot. Excellent, let me proceed with the checkout. Goes there, gives me a screenshot. Let me fill out the checkout form to continue the flow. Great, did that, gives me a screenshot. And let me check the hamburger menu to see additional navigation options. Great, that's wonderful. And it gives me a screenshot. I hope you understand, I really like the way this one dialogues, and I'm not involved in the dialogue. It's just Claude and the Playwright MCP Server that are dialoguing back and forth, pulling information, collecting all the information that's needed for this application. It says, perfect, now let me test with a different user type to understand the differences. Let me log out and try the problem user. All right, the problem user is tried. It says, interesting. Let's see what happens on that. What do we get? You notice right off that the images are all the same. And it says, interesting. I can see that the problem user shows the same dog image for all products instead of the correct product images. Now let me create a comprehensive test analysis and documentation. Oh my goodness. All right. And it's actually here in the flow of the conversation. It brings back a different set of text. So I'm going to click on this that's in the middle of the conversation, and then we'll come back to the summary information. So I click, and it shows it on the right side. So we still have the conversation over here on the left, and now we have this new set of information that's on the right side of your screen. And it starts out with source demo application, test analysis, and test plan. Gives me the URL, a little bit of information about the application, lets me know what authentication system is involved, talks about the core flow, starts with login, goes to a products page, Add to cart gets you to a cart view, checkout information, checkout overview, and order complete. All of these are pages within the application. Key components, so it lists them in this manner and lets you know what the end point of the URL is for each of those pages. Now, of course, you're not supposed to be able to get directly to it because you have to get through the login. Without valid login, you can't get to these. So you should be able to test this as part of the security testing. Then it talks about navigation elements. The hamburger menu, the shopping cart icon, the product sorting drop-down, interactive elements like the add to cart button, the cart quality management, remove from cart functionality, test user accounts analysis. So here are all the users that it found on the main login page, and this special one, this locked out user. It's aware of all of them and the password. Of course, this is a test system, so you'd expect to have that with those particular user IDs. Excuse me. Then we identified issues and behaviors. That's interesting. The problem user issue. It says the product images show the same dog photo instead of correct product images. And the potential UI inconsistencies may have other visual problems throughout the flow. Then here we are, comprehensive test scenarios. So by scenario, we have so many test cases identified and numbered, TC01 through I think it's 73. So it comes up with 73 different test cases that can be done. They're identified, they're labeled, and the next thing would be to build them one by one. That is interesting, and I have a good feeling, though I haven't tried it, I can take each one of those and walk through it with Claude dialoguing with the Playwright server to give me clarity on what needs to be done for each of those test cases within the test scenarios. And the numbered is the test scenarios. Shopping cart testing, and it's split up between cart management and cart navigation. Moving forward to checkout processing test scenarios, and they're split up into information entry and checkout flow. Go to the next one, we have navigation testing scenarios. We got all of these test cases for menu navigation, for breadcrumb and back navigation. Then we even have performance test scenario, identified some load testing scripts that can be prepared, cross-browser testing, security testing, accessibility testing, that you don't see too often. And then it says user experience testing. That's good, that's useful. And then test data requirements. These are the user IDs again with their password. We have test data that's identified. We have product data that's identified. And test environment setup. Test data reset. Risk assessment. That I certainly wasn't expecting anything on that. And medium risk, low risk, as well as high risk. Execution strategy. Nailing down some things concerning smoke testing, functional testing, non-functional testing, which is the performance and security and accessibility, user experience testing, kind of getting into some of the user acceptance testing, and then a bug report template that can be used for manual. I prefer automated, but this is okay too. It's a good start. And then finally, automation considerations and manual testing considerations. Success criteria. That is a part of the test planning. And quality gates. Some things to look for to say, how good is this application with regards to testing? And then it says this comprehensive test plan provides a structured approach to testing the source demo application, covering functional, non-functional, user experience aspects while accounting for the different user personas and their unique behaviors. All right, let's go back to the left side here. I'll just leave that there. And after the test plan has been submitted, it gives you a summary. I've conducted a thorough analysis, blah, blah, blah. The application is a demo e-commerce site. This is the flow. Key discoveries, multiple users, intentional bugs, complete e-commerce flow, test-friendly features, test strategy highlights. It came up with 73 comprehensive test cases, risk-based approach and analysis, multi-phase execution, and automation-friendly scenarios. The application is excellently designed for testing practice, providing both positive test scenarios and intentional issues. The comprehensive test plan I've created covers functional, non-functional, and user experience testing. Would you like me to elaborate on any specific aspect of the test plan or help you implement any particular testing approach? So that gives me an indication that it's ready to be able to take the test scenarios and break that down even further into detailed test cases, as well as it's talking about implementing a particular testing approach. So this is very impressive. As I said, I'm not trying to put down the Microsoft version of the Playwright MCP Server, but I like Automata Labs in that there seems to be more intuitive, and it has me to the point of leaning to it more because it meets the kind of needs I would have in testing real applications. I hope this was useful to you. Thank you for your time. See you later. I appreciate you joining me for this video. If you are not aware, this video is a continuation of my MCP Selenium and Playwright Servers series. I hope you can find time to check out those videos in my MCP series. Oh, and check out my website for related articles. Bye for now.